Hey everybody, I'm Rick Beato, and today's Everything Music. It's What Makes This Song Great, episode 43. The band is Led Zeppelin, and the song is Whole Lotta Love, coming up next. Whole Lotta Love was the first single off Led Zeppelin's second record, which was released on November 7th, 1969. It was produced by Jimmy Page and mixed by Jimmy Page and Eddie Kramer. We'll talk about that in a minute. The song was written by the band and Willie Dixon. You'll say, Willie Dixon, who's that? Let me play you something.
Woman, you need a love, yeah.
Okay, so that was the Small Faces on their 1966 release, You Need Loving. Now, that is actually a cover of a 1962 Muddy Waters song called You Need Love, whose lyrics were written by Willie Dixon. Now, in 1985, Led Zeppelin was sued by Willie Dixon, and so now Willie Dixon, as you can see here, is credited as a co-songwriter. Okay, so you all know the riff. For those of you listening on headphones or sitting in front of a stereo, you'll notice that the main guitar is coming out of only the left speaker. There's a little bit of reverb on it, but most of the reverb is hard panned over to the right speaker. So it's basically dry guitar on the left and reverb on the right. Let's check them out separately. This technique is used on all sorts of records from the 60s and 70s. You hear it on the beginning of Stairway to Heaven. There's the acoustic guitar that starts out, I believe, in the left channel and the reverb's in the right. Or Angie by the Stones, same thing. Starts out in one channel and the effect is in the other channel. This is how they made things sound stereo. Next, let's check out the bass when it enters with the guitar. You'll notice that when John Paul Jones plays this, he plays open D and the 5th fret of the A string together, which is why it rings so loud. And then he goes, he's playing octaves. He plays the 7th fret of the A string and the low E together, which makes it sound huge. Here he is explaining it.
Slide up and you hit those two strings in unison. So it goes, and then hit these in octaves. So there's always two strings playing at any time.
Next, the vocal enters.
You need cool air, baby, I'm not fooling. I'm gonna send you.
Amazing singing. Let's check it out soloed.
You need cool air, baby, I'm not fooling. I'm gonna send you back to school.
Okay, so that's why we're still talking about it 50 years later. Let's listen on.
Way down inside, honey, you need it. I'm gonna give you my love.
And then the drums enter. Let's solo the vocals there just to hear those because they're really incredibly well. It just blows me away when I hear them.
Way down inside, honey, you need it. I'm gonna give you my love. I'm gonna give you my love. Oh.
The drums lead us into the chorus with a classic Bonham caveman fill. Right around the toms. Check it out.
I'm gonna give you my love. Oh. Want a whole lot of love.
Drums are really a highlight of this. Let's listen to the drums soloed. You may have noticed that it sounds like the drums have an echo on it. I'm pretty sure that what they were using is a Benson Echo Ret or Benson Echo on it. This was really common. If you listen to things like When the Levee Breaks, you can really hear it, where the extra repeat actually makes people think that he's playing do-do-da. But because you're hearing that extra delay added to the drum part. Let's listen to it again. Check it out. The drums sound absolutely massive. I mean, that is a huge drum sound. The kick is unbelievable. In the chorus, we have the hook line, which trades with the slide guitar part. Here are the background vocals soloed.
Want a whole lot of love. Want a whole lot of love.
And here's a slide part soloed. The second verse and chorus are pretty similar, but there's a set of great drum fills that happen just before the breakdown. Check it out. Love that. Love it. And then we have that guitar that drifts off like that. It's awesome. Let's check out the drum fills. Next, we come to the bridge. The bridge begins with this real signature drum hi-hat and then the ride cymbal bell when he's playing it. Right there. And then percussion fades in. And right there begins the theremin. Now, for those of you not familiar with the theremin, here's a video of a Led Zeppelin tribute band playing with the theremin. The theremin is a musical instrument developed by Léon Theremin, patented in 1928. The theremin's hands control the two oscillators. One is for frequency and the other is amplitude. So the frequency would be the pitch of it, the amplitude is the volume of it. Here's what the theremin sounds like on its own. It's played through an amplifier. I believe he was using an orange mat amp, which is giving it its distortion. Those really fast woo 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 is done with the hands. Moving your hand like that, it creates that vibrato sound. So the theremin you can hear panning from side to side here. And then we have our first vocals that enter here, which are also panning from side to side. There was the fake out drum fill that actually is the same type of drum fill that leads into the guitar solo coming up. We have some other really interesting sounds. This theremin part here. That is crazy. Once again, the vocal panning. And then we have one of the greatest fills ever. Into the guitar solo. Let's check out the drum fill here. So here it is. Wow, the kick. Let me just solo the drum fill. Check it out. Listen to the kick, how huge it is. Smoking. That leads us into what I think is one of the greatest guitar solos of all time. I think it's the best Jimmy Page solo, and it's one of the greatest rock guitar solos of all time. No question. It's not just a guitar solo, but having the drums and the bass break there, leaving all those spaces for the guitar makes it even more intense. Let me play along with it. Let's solo it and take a listen to it. All those licks, every lick is cool. Then he has a then he has that huge bend. I can't even play it up that high. The solo is played with this tone bender fuzz, and it also sounds like he has a wah on it, especially at the beginning, along with the reverb that was put on probably at the console. So after the solo, they're really hitting the groove hard. Bonham plays a lot more fills, Plant goes up and sings even more intensely. Check it out. Great fill right here. Caveman. And then let's isolate those fills. I love those triplet fills. It reminds me of the late 60s and the 70s. That's the influence from jazz musicians. When I hear that those fills, I think of Elvin Jones, I hear Max Roach, I hear Papa Joe Jones, I hear Clyde Stubblefield. That's those Bonham influences there, those triplet fills. You can also hear that he was probably influenced by Carmine Appice as well, because I know that they had toured with Vanilla Fudge around that time. But this intensity, this kind of groove drumming is really coming out of a lot of the jazz that was happening and that influenced Bonham at the time. When we hit this next break, we have this really cool pre-echo. Listen. You're hearing that voice, woman, first, really quietly, right? That's actually from a take that was on the track that was next to it that was apparently bleeding through. Let's hear Eddie Kramer explain it.
So there's point in the song where you hear Robert go, woman.
Yeah.
And I'm putting a little bit of reverb on.
Right.
And I'm hearing another voice. And we look at each other and say, what the hell? Oh. So there's only 8 tracks, by the way. Track 8 was the main voice, and track 7 was another take. And I couldn't get rid of it. It was one of those old-fashioned tube boards with rotary parts. And literally, as I was going to reach for the echo send, Jimmy was reaching for it at the same time. We were both laughing because we were both going to do exactly the same thing, and we just soaked it in reverb.
Yeah.
And that's why you hear the woman, and then in the background you hear this other one, because I couldn't get rid of it.
So now we're into the ending section. They have a caveman into a triplet fill there. Plant's vocals are unbelievable here. I would solo them for you, but I may have problems with the video if I do that. I want to solo Bonham's fill here because it starts out full on caveman and then into triplets. Check it out. There's one more insane fill here. Love that fill. Let's solo it. A lot of Plant's singing here became the blueprint for rock singers in the future. You know, guys from the grunge era like Chris Cornell, Eddie Vedder. This was their blueprint for how they sang rock music. That's all for now. Please subscribe here to my Everything Music YouTube channel. If you're interested in the Beato book, go to my website at www.rickbeato.com. And if you want to support this channel, you can become a member of the Beato Club. Check it out on my website as well. Thanks for watching.